I am not building for today. I am building for the people who will stand on what I leave behind. I am not here to consume. I am here to construct something that outlasts my comfort, my name, and my lifetime. There is a question that separates two entirely different kinds of lives. Most people never hear the question. They move through decades driven by a single invisible prompt. What can I get? What can I earn? What can I buy? What can I enjoy? What can I accumulate before my time runs out? And that question, pursued long enough, produces a life that looks full from the outside, but leaves nothing standing when it ends. The other question is quieter. It arrives later, sometimes too late, and it sounds like this. What am I leaving? Not what am I getting? What am I leaving? That single shift from acquisition to transmission is the most powerful financial and spiritual reorientation a person can experience. Because the moment you stop building for yourself and start building for what comes after you, every decision changes. What you spend changes. What you save changes. What you tolerate changes. What you refuse changes. The entire architecture of your financial life reorganizes itself around a longer timeline and a deeper purpose. This is not a sentimental idea. This is an ancient principle that every civilization that lasted more than one generation understood. A society of consumers dies with the generation that consumed. A society of builders transmits wealth, wisdom, and structure to the next. The same law operates at the level of a single family. You are either the generation that consumes everything, or you are the generation that changes the trajectory. There is no third option. Let me put this in the most direct financial terms possible. Because legacy is not a word reserved for the wealthy. Legacy is a financial strategy that anyone can activate today. Every dollar you spend on impulse is a dollar that will never compound for your children. Every debt you take on for comfort is a burden your family may inherit. Every month you finish at zero is a month of transmission lost. You are already transmitting, whether you are aware of it or not. If you have no savings, you are transmitting the message that money does not stay. If you have no investment, you are transmitting the message that wealth belongs to other families, not ours. If you have no financial discipline, you are transmitting the message that survival is the best we can do. Now reverse it. A person who saves consistently, even the modest amount, is transmitting a different message entirely. They are saying, wealth is something we build. A person who invests, even the small sum, is transmitting the idea that money works for us. We do not only work for money. A person who lives deliberately below their means is transmitting the most powerful financial lesson a child can ever receive. Discipline is not poverty. Discipline is the door to freedom. The wealthy understand this intuitively. They do not think in terms of their own lifetime. They think in terms of generations. When a wealthy person makes a financial decision, the question is not, will this benefit me this year? The question is, will this still be standing in 20 years? Will my grandchildren benefit from this choice? That long-term lens is not a luxury of the rich. It is the habit that made them rich. And it is available to you right now, at any income level. The moment you decide that your financial life is not about you anymore. This is also why so many people who earn well still feel empty. They have money, but they have no mission for it beyond their own comfort. Money without mission is just maintenance. It keeps you alive, but it does not make you matter. The person who connects their money to a purpose larger than themselves, whether that purpose is their children, their community, or the legacy they want their name to represent, That person does not just earn differently, they hold differently, they protect differently, they grow differently. Because the money now means something beyond the next purchase, two fathers lived on the same street and earned similar wages for 20 years. The first father spent at the level of his income. He drove the car his salary could afford. He took the vacations his paycheck allowed. He consumed fully and consistently, and every month ended exactly where it began. He was not reckless. He was simply living for the present moment, as he had always been taught to do. The second father made a different decision early on. He sat down one evening and wrote a letter to his daughter, who was 3 years old at the time. In the letter, he described the life he wanted her to begin with. Not the life he had started with, the life he wanted to build for her to start from. He described a young woman who would not begin adulthood with debt, who would not begin her career from desperation, who would have a small financial foundation waiting for her, not because her father was rich, but because her father was intentional. From that day forward, every financial decision passed through one filter. Does this serve the letter? The impulse purchase that once felt harmless now felt like stealing from his daughter's future. The lifestyle inflation that once felt earned now felt like a betrayal of the promise he had made. He did not deprive himself. He reordered himself. He lived well, but he lived below what he could afford, and the margin between what he earned and what he spent became the building material of his daughter's beginning. 20 years later, the first father's children entered adulthood the same way he had. From zero, with anxiety, with no foundation and no model for how to build one. They loved their father, but they had nothing to stand on. The second father's daughter received a modest investment account, a paid education, and something far more valuable than money. She received the memory of a man who refused to consume everything, a man who protected something every single month, a man whose discipline she had watched for 2 decades. She did not just inherit a financial foundation, she inherited an identity, and that identity became the starting point of everything she built. Here is the practice. I call it the legacy letter. Tonight, take 15 minutes and write a letter to the person who will benefit most from what you are building. It might be your child, your future child, your younger sibling, your family, even yourself in 20 years. In the letter, describe what you are building and why. Describe the financial foundation you want to leave. Describe the standards you want them to inherit. Be specific. Not, I want them to be comfortable. Instead, I am building an investment that will be worth a specific amount by the time they are 25. I am establishing a habit of saving that they will see every month of their childhood. Once the letter is written, place it somewhere you will see it regularly. Let it become the filter for your financial decisions. Before every significant purchase, before every moment of lifestyle inflation, ask one question. Does this serve the letter? If it does, proceed. If it does not, protect the letter. That single question, asked consistently, will restructure your financial life faster than any budget ever could. Because a budget tells you what not to spend, the letter tells you why you are building, and why is always stronger than what. Today, I ask you to do one thing. Write the first line of your legacy letter, just the first line. It begins with the words, I am building this for you because. Complete the sentence. You do not need to write the whole letter tonight. You need to write the reason. Because once the reason exists on paper, the building has already begun. I am not living for the next paycheck. I am living for the next generation. I am not consuming everything I earn. I am converting a portion of everything I earn into a foundation that someone else will stand on. I am not building for applause. I am building for transmission, and what I transmit will still be standing long after I am remembered. I am the generation that changes the trajectory, not because I have the most, because I chose to build instead of consume, and that choice is my greatest inheritance. If this reached you, like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe. Drop a comment. Tell me what shifted. This is only the beginning.